are talking today about storage, which I know is a topic that has many question marks around it, and also a topic where we, if we're honest, not necessarily everybody, but some of us, our file management might not be as great or as good as it should be. But this is what we're going to try to address in this session today, is to see how can we give you some additional information, answer your questions, tips and tricks and so forth. So we really want to just eliminate the whole confusion around storage. I do want to just, let me just bring it over here. I do want to launch a poll because I do find this very interesting. So when we talk about storage, we have these questions and thoughts. So if you don't mind just taking a second there to just give me a word, a phrase, just very short. What comes to mind when we talk about OneDrive, Teams, and SharePoint and the whole storage system? Are you scared, frustrated, happy, very comfortable, whatever comes to mind? Okay, awesome. And I'm just going to give it a moment so that people can respond to that. Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, awesome. Like, and it's growing. And if you can see on your side as well, you'll see the word cloud. That is the word that is just this. The biggest in this cloud is confusion, right? So I think we all share a level of confusion. And okay, I'm gonna leave that there. So we can see from the word cloud that the majority feels some sense of confusion or overwhelm and even frustration when it comes to storage. I'm going to do my best to share some information with you, but I do want to invite you, and we've got one or two other polls that's going to come up in the session, but I do want to invite you that to share with us in the chat, not necessarily now, you can do it a little bit later. Remember the chat always lives with the calendar event in Teams. Come back and just share your frustrations in a nice positive way so that we could potentially see how we can help you, right? We want to make it easier as well. We work within a framework, of course, and so there are sometimes things that we can't do, but at least we can explain it. And we are going to do our best to address those questions. So I'd really like it if you could, even if you send it to me directly, if it's a very long story and you feel you want to just get everything out there, you're more than welcome to send it to me directly as well. But we really want to, maybe we're not successful in that today. I'm going to try and share some insights, but we really want to take away the overwhelm, the confusion, and the frustration. So please share that. If you share directly with me or within this group, that is also fine. Okay, so let's see how we can perhaps address a couple of those questions. This little thing pops up on my side all the time. So one of the first things that we are often confronted with, and if you've joined some of my earlier sessions, you might assume some of the things that I'm saying is going to be a reiteration of that, but it's still true. So the one thing that we often find addresses that whole confusion thing is about that feeling of confusion and overwhelm is very often the case of where am I supposed to save my information? There's OneDrive, there's Teams, there's SharePoint. What the heck do they mean? And like that confusion alone adds a lot of frustration. So let's look at it. So OneDrive, if you can think of OneDrive as your personal cloud locker. So back in the day, before everything went to the cloud, we would have a storage that we would share as a department or a team, and we would always, or you'd also have your own storage. So OneDrive is your own storage. So that is for personal work files. So that's the documents that you work on that never going to be shared with anybody. Maybe it's part of something you're working on or researching, etc. But that's your file. So it might be a file that never ever gets shared with anybody. That lives in OneDrive, not in Teams, not in SharePoint. It can be a file that starts out as a work in progress. So you're working on it, and at some point, it will be ready to be shared with others. If it needs to be shared with a group of people, then we can go to the other side of the screen, so Teams. If you can also have a file in your OneDrive that you share with others that never goes to a team. And I know this is where the confusion starts, right? Because so you're saying that if it's team related or group related, put it in Teams. But sometimes there's a piece of work that only lives with one person. So, and I didn't read the details, but my eye caught the word the external. So also you can share with external. So OneDrive can be a file that you have that is only your eyes only ever. It could be a file that starts out as your eyes only, and at one point you share it with others, and the others could be internal and it could be external as well. And we're going to go into that a little bit in a moment. When you are talking about our files, so that is when we have a group of people with a common purpose. So it could be a project, it could be a team, a small team for, and it could be a department. It could be a team that has a time existence. So it will start at this point and end at that point. So the moment we're talking collaboration, then Microsoft Teams is your better solution. So because it allows for us that single version of the truth, so that one document that we have and we're sharing with everybody. The one thing that I want to challenge everybody in the room is the next time you consider sharing anything with other people via Outlook, is just put a little stop sign up to yourself and say, who am I sharing this with? Why am I sharing this? And how am I going to share this? So I'm also going to come back to that. But the moment you talk about a file that is our file, then your flag that should come up is, okay, should it live in a single repository, a single version of the truth, that one document, and then people can either access it, view it, download it, collaborate and edit on it, so that you've got a whole suite of things that you can do in that space. It also, everything, whether it's OneDrive or Teams, we're talking a lot about security as well. We're going to get to that. And if you notice, I put the Teams logo slightly overlapping the SharePoint logo because I do understand, and this is a big part of a confusion, right? There's people's like, there's SharePoint as well, and Teams, and where should it be? So if one analogy that you can think of is like SharePoint is your skeletal, you like your skeletal, is that the right word? And then Teams is the, the skin and the bones that cover it. So SharePoint is underlying Microsoft Teams. If you create a team, that you also create a SharePoint presence for that team. And I'm going to go into that as well. So the very next question that we often get is, okay, there's been communication from ICTS about the whole storage, cleaning up our storage limitations and changes and whatnot. So yes, that is true. We get, as a staff member, you get 100 gigabytes of storage on OneDrive. If we store every single thing forever and always, then 100 gigabytes is not that big. But I can tell you that we did compare with some other universities, and we are by far giving the highest amount of storage on OneDrive. But this means the moment there are some limitations on anything, or there's a quota, just like our budgets, we know there's about 14 days, I think, left until payday. You know you're going to have to make it work if you don't have a lot of savings. So the same thing here. If you know that you have lots of storage, it is a good thing to every now and then see, how can I manage this? How can I clean it up? We're going to get there as well. Um, Sabri asked, does the 100 gigabytes of OneDrive include your email storage? No, I'm happy to say it does not. I didn't add Outlook to this because we are going to talk about Outlook on Thursday, but no, so this is OneDrive only. Then when it comes to the Teams, so for Teams, we get 10 gigabytes, and for Microsoft Groups, we get 10 gigabytes. This sounds very little. But remember, we are going to improve the way that we work. We're going to have that one version of the truth, and we're going to use something like version history, and we're not going to have multiple copies of everything. Something I also regularly see is that people have, since 2020, and we really are utilizing Teams in the way that we're supposed to. There are people that have multiple years of files. So if you're ever in that space, so you've got 2020, 21, etc. up to now, and you're not necessarily accessing that files. So please speak to us to see, okay, how can we manage this? Do I need to keep it all in that space? Should I at some point say, how do we archive, etc.? But that could be a conversation that you have with ICTS as well. Right, so this is the thing. I hope there's a little bit of clarity. So if a file is either a me file only, for my eyes only, ever and always, then it should be in OneDrive. Now, I know that I could have caused a little bit of confusion with my wording on the slide. It says personal work files, but in that case, I mean personal, I mean for your eyes only, it's work related, but it's for you only. Or could be a file that is a work in progress. And then when it's ready to be shared with a team, we are going to move it, not copy it, move it. We can get to that in a moment. The one thing that I left out here, and I'm just going to very quickly talk about, is personal files. So if you have personal, so it's got nothing to do with your work, then the best practice is that you use something like Microsoft OneDrive for your personal capacity. So let me just get a sense of that. Do you just rate yourself, right? So this is just a rate yourself question. Rate yourself on, are you keeping your work and your personal file separate? No judgment, just a rate, because I'm like, I try, but I'm not, I have to go back every now and then and do this. So just, let's just have a look at ourselves. So no judgment, honestly. And while I wait for the responses to come in, I can perhaps talk to this a little bit. So it is very important. And when we're busy, we have all these good intentions. And then when we really get busy or we really get stressed, then we default to our old habits. But if you just try to make sure that use your Gmail account or whatever, your Hotmail or whatever your personal account is, and your Microsoft account, which is the UCT information. The moment you do something, ask yourself, is it mine? Is it UCT's? And where should that information be? There's policies that underline this, etc. But even the best policy, it's the how we do it when we apply it. So it kind of has to become a habit of saying, okay, if you were really busy and you're not quite sure, the one thing that I highly recommend everybody do is just block out some time in your calendar. Like Friday afternoon sounds like a good idea to me, to say that and also not every Friday, but like once or twice a month, block some time as a reminder to yourself to say, okay, I've got to just check my file storage. Because as we can see from the feedback, and as I said, no judgment, we're just looking at our behavior at the moment. We have got a 3.8, which is not bad. Hey, it's not bad, but of course we can see if we can make that a little bit better. But so, of course, from this, we can see that there are people who are good at this. And we want to say thank you very much for that. You and your future self and UCT thanks you for making sure that you've got that sorted. But make a distinct um, division between this. And you can install OneDrive for personal use. I'm going to share a link to that a little bit later. And then you've got your work stuff. So the main thing, if we look at everything and we take away the frustrations and whatnot, we are left with where should I save it? And every now and then we have to do some cleanup, and some of that cleanup is in the sense of moving something. It's not in the correct place. We're moving it. Try not to copy. So we're trying to limit the copy, because the moment you copy something, you're going to have multiple iterations of that document. I'm just reading Thomas's question. I'm going to get back to that in a minute. Okay, so that's the main thing, right? Is if we can distinguish where it should be, and we want to make that distinction of, is it a me file, my eyes only, or a work in progress, or is it a team related one? And the gray is left with that. The gray section between the two should really be, it is a work-related file, so it's in OneDrive. It's not for sharing with a team of people, but I do need to share it with a select group of people, which could be a small group and a purpose. And the one thing about sharing your files from OneDrive is you can have a time limit on it. Maybe you are just sharing it for somebody to take a review of something, whether they're internal or external, and you can actually say it's only shared until a certain time. And the reason for that is it takes away the responsibility of you trying to remember, I have got to stop the sharing. Okay, but we are going to get into that a little bit. The other thing that we have when we use cloud storage, the beauty of it is that we have file sync. Right, so we have this option where our files can be synced. If you have OneDrive on your laptop, and you have OneDrive via the portal. I'm going to share my screen in a second. And you have OneDrive on your mobile device. These files get synced across the board, and you've got access to it everywhere. So that's the beauty of it. And that is even a more important reason why we should have that one version, that one document. Because if you're standing waiting to get your driver's license renewal, and you need to quickly access a document because somebody asked you for it or asked you for a change, you don't have your laptop with you, you just take out your mobile device, you can make the changes. Of course, it's not that easy. It's always a little bit easier if you've got a bigger screen, but you can still do that. You can still share it, edit it, whatever, because the file syncing allows us to do that. So I'm going to share my screen here. I have multiple screens open, so I just have to get the correct one. Right. I'm signed in here to office.com. So I like to go portal.office.com or office.com. It doesn't really matter. It takes you to the same place. And over here, this is the dashboard. So it just gives you an overview on what you were working on recently, whether it is something you opened, you shared, or you marked as favorite. So this is not the page where we want to stay, but this is a nice page to start off with. On the top here in the portal, we have this little grid, and this is a quick way to jump to various applications. And then we can see that OneDrive is highlighted here on the side so that we can get to it easily and quickly. What I do love about this screen is the fact that it has a search button. So if you're looking for something, logged onto the online portal, and you can just click here and start searching. It comes up, as you can see here, it comes up with possible options. So maybe something I worked on recently. And it also says what is the application that you're looking for. So I can say, well, it's a file that's in OneDrive that I'm looking for, so you have some options here. So I could go and say, I'm looking for something on I can't remember the name, but it's Freckle something. And then if I just search like this, it's going to give me all the options that I can possibly get. I'm going to just do this again, but this time I'm going to say it's OneDrive. It takes me to OneDrive, and now my search is a little bit more streamlined. So in this case, I'm going to again do the same thing and say I'm looking for a file called Freckle something. I can't exactly remember Freckle what it was called. And here, everywhere that I use the word freckle is going to come up. And I have another layer of filtering that I can do. And I can say, well, I'm actually looking for, I mean, I can see it there. It's a PowerPoint one, but let's pretend I don't see it. I'm looking for a PowerPoint file that's got freckle in it. And again, it comes up with all the options. So the nice thing about using this, quickly just sign in there. The nice thing about using the search function like this is it tells you obviously your list of possible files that you're looking for, but it tells you who last edited or modified that document and exactly where is it located. Now, this is also something that might cause a little bit of a confusion, and you can see under the location here, I get a mix. I get a mix of files that is in my OneDrive, so that the indicator here is my files, and I get some results to say this is a team name. And I wanted to show you this because what they try to do to help us, but it sometimes I feel it aids the confusion. I'm just going to go back here and go to OneDrive again, just so that I am just in a different tab. Without doing any searching here, you can see at the top you've got a set of shortcuts to various areas, and then you have filter options, and then you've got quick access. The quick access is to Microsoft Teams, so not a folder within your OneDrive. And that is what I also think that sometimes causes the confusion. So, so there is this interlink between OneDrive, Teams, and SharePoint, and Microsoft is trying to, they put this here in the option of making it easy for us to find something, but that sometimes their help confuses us. So this is just, as I stated here, a quick access, just a quick method to jump to a team if you're looking for something, because they know that we're not always that great at where we're saving things. That's why when you search, they give you all the possible solutions and you will navigate to where that document is saved. And if you find that it's in the wrong place, you can, of course, just move it to the right place. So this is the document that I'm looking for. And I can select that document and I get a set of options at the top, and I can click on the drop down and I have a certain set of options that I can work with. So we are going to come back to this. I just wanted to show you that if you're looking for something, you can start your search from your, let me just click on my, oh, sorry. Okay, just go away. Let me click somewhere else. If you go to your home section, there is a search button there. This is a good place to start your search, and then you can navigate to your OneDrive. Something that I have shared in a previous session as well is, and I just want to quickly pause here for a second. We're often looking for files. We can't remember what the file name was, but we know it was shared by someone. So that's why we have the people option here to find what we're looking for. Or was it maybe a document that was shared in a meeting? Or is it maybe an image that we're looking for? So that's just another filter option that give us to quickly find something. So if I know that, Cindy shared this document with me, so this is the recent documents that she shared, and then you can see some additional ones as well. So that's just finding it per person. And if you go to meetings, you can see that this is a past meeting. So if I were looking for something, I can see that there are the documents that I'm looking for. So this is just a time-saving feature. And then if you go to your home section of OneDrive, this is an overall view. It's like a little OneDrive dashboard. and you can filter according to the type of document, and also you can filter on the latest documents. What I want to show you just is that reminder of, is it my file, my eyes only, my work in progress? You'll find it under my files. And if you are looking for something that you shared, so I'm trying to convince you to put some time in your calendar and go and just clean up the storage. So a good thing would option would be come to OneDrive, go to shared, and then we have these two options here, shared with you, shared by you. So that cleanup session, if you go shared by you, now you know, okay, this is what I've shared. So I'm not going to scroll to the bottom and show you all my shared documents because it might be a very long list. I also have to clean it up every now and then. But you know that you've shared these documents. And the moment you've shared a document, you can like, oh, I forgot I shared this with everybody or somebody or whom I don't even know who I shared it with. So the moment you are in this space and you like questioning why did you share it or should it still be shared, if you select it and you click on the dots here, you have a couple of options. The one that I want to pause at just for briefly is this manage access. So I can say, okay, who did I share it with? I don't know. I can't even remember. So for in this case, you can see that I shared with individuals. So yeah, you can say I shared it with Hamza, that I shared it with groups, that I shared a link maybe with people. So I can come back and I can just review this. And if I know that, you know what, I actually should not share this any further, then you can just say stop sharing. And the next time if Hamza goes to this document and he tries to click on the link that I shared with him, it's going to come up with an option that says you do not have access, and he'll be prompted with an option to request access. The person whose document this is, so in this case my document, will get an email, and the email will say Hamza Jacobs is asking access to this file. Do you accept or decline? Um, this happens. Let's say somebody shares the meeting recording of one of these sessions. I get that quite a bit, and then I get that email to ask, do I want to continue to share this document? So this is what I'd like you to do every now and then. Just go into your My Files, shared by me, and then have a shared files by you, and have a look if something should be cleaned up here. So let me quickly scan the chat here. Okay, so that is important to do. Are people in UCT search option? In that search option, only UCT staff. Yes, that is correct. So you won't find any external people in that list. Well, if you should, okay, maybe I should just answer it like this. Are you talking about this people option? Yeah, yes. So this is only UCT people within our organization. That is correct. No external people. Right. So that is just on just a little bit on the cleanup. Now I want to also just go back to the whole file syncing. If you've got OneDrive installed on your desktop, for instance, you'll be able to launch it. This is just the link that I'm going to just share with everybody on how to where to get OneDrive. So if you don't have OneDrive installed, you can install OneDrive and make sure that you've got it set up. You will be prompted to sign in on your desktop when you launch it. So mine unfortunately sits on my other screen, but you will need to sign in with your UCT credentials, and then it will show you an option to open your file folders, or it will show you an option to sync. So if I click on my OneDrive, then it opens up in my file explorer like we're seeing on my screen at the moment. So that is how OneDrive works when you're syncing a file. And if you've got it on your mobile device, then it will work like that as well. It will just launch any of your files that you've got saved in OneDrive. The next thing that is very, very important is that we want to make sure that we are securing our file. So I started with that, showing you just to go and review who you shared with. So I would like to ask you, just by a show of hands, has anybody in this session accidentally, just raise your hand, accidentally shared a file with people? Just by accident. Right. Okay. So thank you, sorry, for sharing. Yes, this happens, right? So that's another reason why you've got to go back to that file and then just say, I want to stop sharing that file. So the easiest way is to just go back and to say, stop sharing that file, and then that fixes the whole problem. Of course, if it is something that was highly confidential, you are going to phone this person and ask that they just delete the file. That brings me to another option. So, and that is the option where we can say that, okay, um, but this might have been via an email. Let me just bring this email message over here. So what we are highly recommending is the next time that you are going to share via Outlook, right? So you are going to complete your whole document here, and then you can say, please see the whatever file name is. So if you go to your attachments, you have a couple of options. There you have, this file is on my computer. So of course it's not cloud, it's not, it's that it's just on your computer, or it's in OneDrive, or it is a link that I want to share. So if you want to go, I'm going to say there's a file that I want to share. It's in OneDrive because it's my working file, and I am going to say it is this book list. So when you try to share, you get an option here, and it says, do you want to share a link or attach? I would highly recommend you share the link, because that is going to attach this link to the email. This person that you're sharing with, if you type their name there, they're going to have access to this document that you're sharing. However, if we go back to my example of, oops, I shouldn't have shared it. Maybe, at ICTS, we're two Shemaine van der Merwe and Shemaine Geyer. So sometimes it happens that we get each other's emails because people are busy, and you type Shemaine and you pick the first one in the list, which would be the last one you communicated with, or whatever the case might be, and you send it. So let's say something like that happens, and it's sensitive, confidential, or just general information that you shared with the wrong person. If you use this link feature, and you realize after the fact that, oops, I shouldn't have done that, then we just go back to the screen that we were on a little bit earlier. If I can find it with all my open documents here. There we go. I find that document that I shared, and I then go into the folder, and I can then just say, right click, I can say manage access, and if I shared this with anybody, I can just stop sharing. So a easier way would be, if you go to OneDrive, go to shared, go by me, by you, and then just go to that particular file, right click, say manage access, and stop sharing. Or if it is a specific person, you can remove that person's name if you no longer need to share with them. So you have these options. And the one thing that I might have said this a million times already, but I do want to remind you just is, when you're sharing a document, the best method to share is to share it with individuals. Now, we often have questions where people say, yes, but I'm sharing it with a group of people. So I don't want to type 50 people's email addresses. No, you don't have to. If you have a group, you can just type their name. If it's a team that already exists, you can type the team's name as well. So it's not just limited to having to type email addresses. What I do want to highlight is just look how you're sharing. So this is the permission section. So you're saying that I whomever I share it with over here, if I share it with Sabri, then I'm allowing him to edit unless I click the drop down and I say, I'm sharing it with Sabri, but only to view, or maybe he can look at it, whatever, but he cannot download this. So just remember the options that you have available. Then also, so this is the default setting, right? Every time you want to share, the default setting, which is the safest setting, is you have to actually identify who you want to email it to or share it with. Then if you click on the little gear next to copy link, that gives you alternative options. So I want to share it with people in the university. So I'm not quite sure what everybody is and I'm needing to share it with, but I need people to complete this form or, look at this document. So if you say people in the university, then that means if you copy that link and you share it, if you are a UCT staff or student, you will be able to view, access, edit, whatever I decide, that document. So people within the university. People you choose, this is the one that we highly recommend, and you can see that that's the default. And people with existing access is obviously those that I've given access with to before. Anyone, although it is top of the list, is the one that I would really highly recommend you avoid, because that means anyone in the whole wide world that has my link can access my content and think about all of the information that you're sharing. So best option is to just keep it at its standard, and that is you have to identify who you're sharing it with. But if you make a change, at the bottom, you have that option again to say that what they can do with that document. And then here you have the expiration date. So you can say, well, maybe, I can share this document, but by May 30th, that's when this document, the link will cease to work. If you have used this before, a change is that they used to limit this very much, but now you can go quite a bit into the future to say when it should expire. The link should expire. So I'm going to say people I choose can edit up until that date. I'm going to say apply. And now I'm going to type my colleagues' names, email addresses, whether it's a group, a person, or external people. I would obviously type their email addresses. And if I click send, it's going to send Cindy an email to say Charmaine shared this document with you, or alternatively, I can just copy the link, whichever works for you. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me just check the chat. Is it possible to transfer the ownership? I often create files for people and I share them, and I'm not sure if I can delete them after. So that is actually a very good question. And the second part of that question of Thomas's is it possible to share from OneDrive without sending the notification email? Yes. So if, let me just quickly show that again, Thomas. I'm just going to use a different document. If I say share, I would still need to type your name over here, right? I'd still need to type your name. And set my permissions on how I want to do it. But in this case, I can say copy link. So I can now go either to Teams or to my email, and I can just paste this link. So in that case, I don't need to send this document. I can close this, right? Because I've copied the link so that you have that option. Thomas's first question is actually very, very important. Because he says, can I transfer the ownership? So there's not a button to do that, unfortunately. That would be quite great, right? The one thing we highly recommend is if you are using Microsoft Teams, you set up the team for this project work or whatever the purpose is, always try to have more than one person to be an owner, because if you leave or go on long leave, for that case, travel the world, then if the ownership, for some reason you decide never to come back to UCT, then that is like a little orphan team, and ICTS can obviously fix that for you, but it's always good to say that, okay, maybe I should just have more than one owner. So that's a recommendation. But when it comes to a OneDrive file, that belongs to you. And if you leave the university, there is a period of time, I think it's 3 months, where that information is still accessible via request from ICTS. But after that time, that information, all those hundreds and hundreds of documents that you worked on, will no longer be accessible to anybody. So in that particular case, it would be a better option for the person who's now going to become the owner of that document to save a copy of that document. And let me see if there's a document that I can quickly jump into that I can show you. Just let me use this one quickly. So you will go as per normal, and you do, whether you do this in your desktop or whether you do this in the browser, you can say file, create a copy, and where should this copy be? So create a copy online. So my suggestion would be you do it in that case, because maybe if somebody's leaving, etc. It's also, in that particular instance, not a bad idea to consider, is it just needing to change ownership to one other person, or should it rather live in a team? If you're sharing, another question we have here from Naima is, if you're sharing with someone outside of the organization, would they need to sign into Microsoft? It depends on how you're sharing that file. So if I'm sharing from OneDrive, no, they will not need to log in. They will get, I'm going to click on the share button, type the email address, and send them a little message. If I send it via email, copy the link if that's my option, and in the email just explain why I'm sharing the document. They won't have to sign into Microsoft. However, if this is a team, the document is saved in a team that you are going to share. The option would be to make them a member of your team, and when they, for the first time, access that team, they are going to have to go through that process, right? Because what we have on Microsoft is that layer of security of, you have to sign in with, of course, you're going to invite them with an email address. And then secondly, we have multi-factor authentication. Unfortunately, we cannot get past that because that is really critical. So sharing from OneDrive, they won't need to sign in because they're going to have that access. But on Microsoft Teams, they are going to have to do that. Okay, let me quickly check with what else I wanted to share, and then I'll go back to questions again. So this is a big thing, right? Try to declutter your digital workspace. And what I mean with that is everything where you store something. So that is whether you share it, store it in your My Documents, whether you're storing it in OneDrive, whether you're storing it in Teams. Please, please, please go put some time, 2 little blocks of time in your calendar a month, and just go and have a look at that. And you really, I said it earlier as well, your future self and UCT will thank you. But we are facing real constraints when it comes to cloud storage. Back in the day when it started, we never thought there would be a limit on this, but there is a limit on it, and at UCT that limit is financial. And if you were affected by the Google Drive issue last year or so, then you'll know there's a bit of frustration. But also along the lines of everything of this, I want to remind you that it starts with each of us to make sure that we can go, and do I have multiple copies of this? Why do I have multiple copies of it? Which is the copy that I should keep? And then delete the rest. But it also brings me to the point about SharePoint, right? When we started out, I mentioned SharePoint. It is, so Thomas's question is the last one that I just quickly saw there. Is the 100 gigabytes limited to new staff, or will it apply retroactively? Yes, it applies to all of us. So if you are very close to that already, we have to go and have a look at what are we storing. Is it in the correct place? Should it be somewhere else? We will also shortly send out an email with some alternatives or methods of looking at. There is a project. Storage as a service, I think it's what it's called. But if it affects a department or a team, additional storage can be acquired. But we will soon talk to you about that. But remember, you can talk to us as well if you know that in your space this is a bit of an issue. And so I want to go back to where we started when I said that if you have something in Teams, the backbone of Teams is a SharePoint. And I just want to quickly show that. So I'm in a demo project. I'm in the file section here of my Freckle project. So that's my channel that I'm in. And you can see I have a couple of documents here. From here, I have options. If I were to right click on any document, you can see I can do various things with it. Maybe let me go one back. This is my folder structure for this channel. And you can see that I have color coded some of the folders. Now, this is something that's been around for about a year or so. And the reason why, it's just that visual thing, right? You know that documents is green. So next time you come in here, you can see, okay, green. Oh yeah, that is my document. So you can color code files and folders, not files, but folders. So if I go into my folder, there are my documents. And you can, if there's a document that you work on quite a lot, you can pin the document. This is the same document. It's just sitting here at the top. It's okay, just I'm looking at Thomas's comment there, but okay. So I have my document, just another way of easy access to that document. You can also, if you right click on the options, you can see that you can make this a tab. And this is, if there's a document, any document that the team is going to work a lot on, you can actually make it a tab and it will show up here in the list. It's just another easy way to access it. So manage access will take you to the same space that we were manage access in OneDrive. It's going to just show you who are you sharing with and should you make any changes to that. You also see that you have this option here, open in SharePoint. And if I just click here on the white space, in my list of options, I can create a new document, upload documents, I can share documents, copy links, sync, but I also have the option under the three dots, depending on how big your screen is, to say open in SharePoint. So I'm going to open it in SharePoint, and it's going to open in my other screen. So let me just bring it over. So remember what I said, that SharePoint is like the spine or the skeletal. So it is inadvertently, if you create a team, it creates a SharePoint instance in the back end. Using Teams is just much easier. It's user friendly. You understand the SharePoints. Sometimes we're not 100% sure, but if you look at it, you can see that, well, actually, it's an exact replica of what I see over there. There are one or two things that you can add to the mix here, which I don't know if we are going to have enough time, but let me see what I can manage. You also can see that you have a little three dots in SharePoint as well, and that's where some of the additional things are. So the one thing that I want to show you is this alert me, and I'm pretty sure it sits here as well. Well, okay, no, whoopsie, it is in SharePoint. This alert me. This is just a feature where you can, let me click on it and I can show you. You can pick a document and then say alert me. And this is this is a question that I get often. So, well, this document is shared with others, but what if people make changes to it? Can I get some sort of a notification? That's what alert me means. So you can say that who needs to be alerted. So it looks at the document name. It says by default you, because I'm the person who initiated this. How do I want to be alerted? Do I want to send an email? We don't have the SMS option, of course. And then why would I like to be alerted? If something changed, if there's you can see anything, someone else changes the document created by me, and changes the last modified by me. So you have these options. I would turn this on very sparingly. I have one of two of them that I've got switched on, but that's for a particular reason, right? So maybe it's a chapter of a book or something that you're working on and multiple people, and you just want to be kept up to date with any changes. So you have the option to say, I want to be notified, and then when. Immediately, daily, weekly. So you have a couple of options over there. So I just wanted to show you that. So you have a couple of options when you're working with your documents. So this is when you launch the file section. Apologies for that. If you launch the file section of the from your Teams, it opens up in SharePoint. And then if we look at the SharePoint instance of this, if I click on the dots, you can see I have pretty much the same options available, right? From sharing, managing your access, renaming the file, etc. You've got all these options. I want to show you this details tab. Sometimes people might need to know this or want to know this. So this just gives you an overview of this particular document, and it says who has access to the document. So instead of going right click, manage access, and then seeing, you can see, oh, okay, well, I can see who's got access. And you can see from here, you can just add additional access if you needed to share the link with somebody. It also gives you information about the file. And what I like is the fact that it gives you this activity. So what has happened in the document recently? It's quite nice. This is also something I get asked quite a bit. And then also that we have a checkout feature, and this. The reason why I'm showing you this is we said in the previous session we talked about when we do collaboration, real-time collaboration, up to 100 people can collaborate on an online document at one time. It is going to slow it down slightly, but if I don't know why 100 people would want to work on it at the exact same moment, but it's possible. But there is this option checkout where you essentially check out the document as in the library back in the day, and it keeps the changes offline so others cannot at that moment make a live collaboration. So that could be also, it will be specific cases for that, right? So that is something interesting to see. Oh, sorry, clicked on the wrong thing there. So we have 3 minutes. Let me quickly see. There is just something else I wanted to highlight. It's just one thing is, have a look. Am I mixing personal and work files in OneDrive? Have a look at that. Try and avoid that. Take some time and just reorganize. Download OneDrive Personal if you need it, and then put that 2 blocks of times in your calendar for twice a month and go and make a change. If something has to be in a different location, move it, don't copy it. Try to have a look at your sharing of your documents. Don't overshare. And rather use the default settings when you're sharing. So that is, I have to identify who I'm sharing it with and not just a blanket share it with the whole world. And then the other thing is I keep on saying again and again that we want that one version of the truth. So please try and check the version history. So try and avoid ignoring the version history here. So I read this on the internet the other day, and I thought it's actually very fitting. It says, permissions are like toothpaste. Once shared, it's hard to take back. And it's because, we forget who we shared it, we forget who we shared it with, etc. And I wish we had more time, but this is where I just ask you again that if you've run out of storage, so Thomas just outing himself there, if you have a file management headache, the frustration, that words that we started with, the confusion, the frustration, the overwhelm, please let us know about that. Whether you post it in this chat, I will slowly and focused read through all the questions and the comments. Or if you want to send me a message directly, that's also, you're more than welcome. I will take it to the team that, as I mentioned, there's a number of projects running at the moment to look at the whole storage and licensing and storage as a service. I will take it to that team as well. So you're not just sharing it and it goes nowhere. We have officially run out of time, but I thank you for taking the time to join the session. We have a session on Thursday. It kind of feels to me like um, it should be Friday already, but we have a session coming up on Thursday, and that session is looking at OneDrive, Teams, and Planner. So there's also been quite a lot of changes in that space. So it would be great if you have the time to join us. Otherwise, I want to say thank you for the time and enjoy the rest of your week.